We begin today's program up on Capitol Hill. We're pleased to be joined by Senator Mark Pryor, a Democrat from Arkansas who serves on the Senate Homeland Security Committee. And Senator, I want to start with your reaction to what we've heard over the last couple of days about the account of what happened inside that compound. Are you troubled at all by any of the changes in the details, or are you of the mind that, look, there's a bigger picture here, that we got the bad guy and we didn't suffer any casualties?
You know, that doesn't really concern me that the facts and some of the details have changed. The truth is that the details started coming out before our Navy SEALs were even debriefed. So no one knew the entire picture when this story started to be told. And I know the media is very hungry for all the details, and so I think there's pressure to try to get as much out as possible. And some of it in the very early reports probably weren't exactly accurate, but it doesn't trouble me. That's just kind of the fog of war, and that's just the way things work today.
Senator, I want to get your reaction to something said yesterday on this show. We had Senator Collins, who of course chairs your committee, on here, and she said that she thought that the terror level should actually be increased in the wake of the Osama bin Laden situation. What do you say to that?
Well, that certainly would be my initial reaction. I would think that when we take out the leading terrorists in the world, and certainly the leading terrorists in Al-Qaeda, that you would think that we would have an immediate threat here. But I think our Homeland Security people, the CIA, and other intelligence folks have looked and said that we probably will see some retaliation, but we don't see anything right now that would require us to increase the threat. But I think always we need to be prepared, and always we need to understand that if they don't try to attack us here, they certainly will try in somewhere around the world. And actually that goes back to the photograph. I know y'all been talking about the photograph. I think the primary consideration on the photograph is the safety of our troops. And I think we need to let the Commander-in-Chief and others make that decision, that if by releasing this photograph, if it increases the risk of our troops being harmed, we shouldn't release the photograph. The truth is, if you do release the photograph, or the photographs, whatever the case may be, for the folks who don't want to believe he's dead, they're not going to believe the photographs. They're just going to say that, you know, it was doctored and it's a fake photo. So it really doesn't serve a great purpose in my view.
I just want to follow up on something, though, about the terror threat. If you're talking to Americans now who are getting on airplanes and maybe concerned about this, what do you say to those folks? Should they be concerned? Should they be doing anything different?
Well, I would say, you know, we're light years ahead of where we were on 9/11. I think we have much better intelligence. We do a much better job of sharing that intelligence among the various agencies that need to. And I guess what I'm hearing is that our U.S. intelligence folks and the Homeland Security people, they're not seeing anything right now that would require us to increase the terror threat. But at the same time, we should always be vigilant. And you know, it could happen anytime without warning, but they're not seeing anything out there that's telling them that we need to increase the rating right now.
Senator, I want to turn your attention to Pakistan. A lot of Americans asking questions about our relationship with Pakistan in the wake of this, how it could be that they didn't know that Osama bin Laden living literally under their noses. Are you convinced that we are getting what we need out of this partnership, or should we be reevaluating how we're dealing with this ostensible ally in the region?
I'm not convinced that we're getting what we need, and I'm not convinced that anyone in the U.S. government is completely satisfied with our relationship with Pakistan and how they do. But in reality, they have a long history over there of living in a very difficult neighborhood. My sense is, and I'm no expert on Pakistan, but my sense is that there's definitely some divided loyalties inside the country and even inside the government. And that's just a fact of life over there. And I think that the U.S. government, for years now, really for decades, but certainly over the last 10 years, has tried to work very closely with Pakistan. It's been an uneven relationship that both sides have been frustrated from time to time. I think the Pakistanis would, if they were here today, they would list out a list of things that they don't like about how they've been treated or how the U.S. takes care of its business, whatever. And certainly I think the U.S. has that same deal. But the truth is, I think that we're in this relationship to try to stabilize the region. And there are going to be some bumps in the road. There are going to be some hiccups and difficulties. And That's just going to be part of this relationship. So it's not going to be a bed of roses. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to have every day being a good day. There's going to be some bad moments and bad days, and but we'll just continue to try to work there and try to make that relationship better.
Senator, I want to just change gears for a second here and talk about the deficit reduction issue. Bipartisan meeting today with the Vice President over at Blair House. You've talked in the past about the need for everything to be on the table, entitlements to be talked about. How likely do you think it is that something comes out of the Blair House meeting that you guys can vote on that's going to do something significant for deficit reduction?
I think we have to do something significant and real on deficit reduction this year. And of course there's a difference in deficit and debt. I should say it needs to be real and significant on debt reduction. We need to get ourselves going on the right path when it comes to debt reduction. This annual deficit this year is probably not going to be a whole lot better than it was last year. I hope it is, but we can't balance the budget in 1 year. It's mathematically impossible unless we were to make radical cuts to our government and huge tax increases, and I just don't see that happening. But I think what we need to do, and I hope what comes out of the Blair House, and again, I'm not saying we're going to have a miracle today, but I hope this process leads to a bipartisan agreement where Democrats and Republicans can agree to put everything on the table. We have to put our discretionary spending, we have to put our entitlement spending, and our tax code all on the table in order to fix this. And the last thing I'd say about this is in Washington, we need people who are serious about this. We don't need folks to hold more press conferences and just play the blame game. That's not helping anybody in any way right now. We've been living beyond our means for decades. And
Senator Mark
everybody
Pryor
shares some responsibility.
Senator Mark Pryor, Democrat from Arkansas, thanks for being here on Top Line. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good conversation.
Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you.